Govan, it was Bojanala that was the last to vote. At some point, it seemed like this list conference would not get underway because of the delays, but it actually did. Where do we stand now in as far as Bojanala voting is concerned?
Well, Tilesizwe, Bojanala district region has now concluded its voting. After them, it will be the provincial task team members who will vote in the list conference, and then the ANC's provincial leagues in the Northwest, the Women's League and the Youth League and the Veterans League. So those are the last batch of votes that are supposed to happen. But of course, the controversy really surrounds the regions who had lodged more than 100 disputes since Saturday when the conference was due to start. So as you said, it almost seemed like it wasn't going to happen. In fact, voting was delayed up until midnight last night, and it only got underway from around 1 a.m. But since then, the provincial task team members as well as the ANC's national deployees in the area have kind of sped up that process, and they've managed to deal with all 102 disputes successfully. So the leader of that national intervention team there, of course, Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma, who has now signed off on the voting and is overseeing the remainder of the league's voting and will now take charge of the counting process. We're expecting results from that list conference to come out tonight.
So just for clarity, Govan, what are they voting for? Because, you know, for someone who doesn't understand what's happening now, that, you know, there was a national list conference that happened in KZN. So how does this fit into that?
Right, to put it into context, so the ANC's representatives in the national parliament are made up of people who are elected within the party to represent the ANC in the different provinces. So there are two lists which need to be voted on in the Northwest. The first one is the province-to-province list, which essentially means that provincial delegates vote on who they will be deploying to the Northwest legislature after the 2019 national elections. Then the other vote is for the province-to-national list, and that's when delegates vote on who will be the Northwest's representatives in the National Assembly. And the ANC has said that it doesn't believe the delays around the ANC Northwest list conference will have any bearing on the national list conference, which is wrapped up in KwaZulu-Natal. All that they'll do is take the top 200 or top 25% of the ANC Northwest's provincial to national list, and they'll include them as the ANC's potential representatives in the national parliament. So here, the ANC in the Northwest is voting for who will represent the party in the Northwest legislature, as well as which Northwest detachment will represent the party in the National Assembly.
And you and I know that some of these ANC conferences can be a true test of one's patience. I mean, you talk about voting happening after midnight following 100 disputes that were declared by various regions. What do these disputes have to do with, but also how do they fit into the context where, you know, there's a lot of sort of tussling for control of the ANC in that particular province?
Right, so the disputes essentially emanate from the chaos that we saw in the Northwest in the middle part of last year, towards the end of last year. And there's one figure who looms large over the Northwest National or Provincial List Conference, and that is Supra Mahumapelo. So we do know that the province is trying to get him to be deployed either to the National Parliament or in the Northwest Provincial Legislature. But the disputes, those 102 disputes, a lot of them coming up as a result of the branches and some regions claiming that the provincial task team had manipulated the lists and who was placed at certain positions on the lists. Of course, where you're placed is very important because that will determine whether or not your seat in the Northwest Legislature or the National Assembly on behalf of the Northwest is guaranteed. But some of the other ones, some of the other complaints and disputes emanated from whether or not the branch representatives at the Northwest List Conference were legitimate representatives of their branches. These are some of the things that the Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma, as the chairperson intervening there on behalf of National, is dealing with. But most of them emanate from the discord which was created after the resignation of Supra Mahumapelo as Northwest Premier and the establishment of the provincial task team in the Northwest.
All right, thank you so much for that update. That's ENCA's Govan Whittles.